Sundance Rogers. I'm a chemical engineer by trade, but I'm currently an applications engineering manager. I have been with this company for 21 years, but I took a 3-year sabbatical into concrete business.
How did you first become interested?
So I knew in high school that I was science oriented. All my strengths were in science and math. Very little strength in English or history or anything of that nature, so I knew I was going to go into a STEM career right away. And then I ended up in an engineering only school, Colorado School of Mines. So I was kind of focused down engineering path from the get-go. So I went, again, very specific engineering only school. So that trained me, on the engineering disciplines. I focused in chemical engineering, which I didn't think I'd do at first, but kind of grew to like it. I had the right teacher, the right prof in college. So went that route. It opened doors into manufacturing. My first job was with Caterpillar, and I was in paints. That was a different world, but it had water treatment in it, and I found interest in water treatment. That opened the door to a water treatment company, and then I was here for 21 years. So it kind of progressed from just being kind of a focused student to a focused curriculum to a focused career. So problem solving, you gotta like having an unknown question set before you and digging into how to solve it, research. If you want things kind of with a defined path, I think this career is not the right career for a lot of people. And that's not a bad thing, that's just personal choice. I like open-ended questions and being able to go find the answers for them. And then I think you need to be collaborative. It's not an independent working career. You're not on an island by yourself. Some people really thrive on that. I think you have to thrive on working with a team. And I know that's cliche, a lot of people say you gotta be a team player, but I think we really strive and focus on that. So I started a little while ago. When I entered the field, starting ranges were somewhere in the $40,000 to $50,000 a year range. That's salaried, no overtime. Today, I think it's a lot closer to $70,000 to $80,000. So things have changed a little bit. Even upwards of $100K for certain fields, especially in the petroleum refining areas, which is also chemical engineering related. So potential for growth is, I think these days, really self-driven. One thing I think people find in engineering and technical fields is you get a foundation, but where you end up in your career is really up to you. If you've got a strong foundation, you can end up in a discipline that wasn't necessarily your native discipline out of school, but you get a lot of on-the-job training and self-growth, and that opens other doors. These days, in my opinion, nobody's going to kind of draw the map for you and tell you to take these steps to get to this point in your career. You've really got to kind of reach for it and prove that you can be a contributor to an organization, and then doors will open for you. But it's not a pull model, it's a push model, right? Nobody's going to pull you along, you got to push for what you want. So my work environment is largely in an office. I'd say I spend probably 70% of my time kind of behind a computer, exchanging emails with customers, with internal sales personnel, with my direct reports. Outside of that, I spend probably a good chunk of my time here in the factory, right, where the equipment's built, actually kind of seeing how things are progressing from where we sold it to where we ended up completing it. And then I spend the rest of the time in the field actually interfacing with customers, which to me is probably the most exciting part. So in general, it's about a 50-hour work week. I think that's kind of an unspoken expectation these days in technical fields. It's not overtime driven, so we don't get benefit for doing that extra, but it's just kind of something that kind of happens, and a lot of times before you know it, your day's been a 10-hour day, and it just occurs. So I think that's kind of the expected, but it'll vary from a standard 40-hour work week to a little bit longer. So benefits are travel. In my career, I've been able to travel the globe. I've actually circumvented the globe on different occasions, traveling to different sites. That's exciting to me. I enjoy that. Working with different cultures. We're a global company, so we put equipment all over the place, and getting to interface with different cultures has been a real reward. Local travel is not as exciting, but the global travel I think is awesome. I've gotten to experience, a lot of different technologies that I wouldn't have been introduced to had I not gotten to this career. We treat water, so that's a morally satisfying situation. It's one of the most precious resources on the planet, and that's all we're about. We do consume raw materials and the metals and stuff and the plastics, but we're a very carbon focused business, and our end product is clean water. So to me, that's very morally satisfying. Challenges. There's daily frustrations, right? There's unsolvable problems, it seems. There's red tape and bureaucracy in your way, right? That, I think, in any big industry, bureaucracy is a challenge. And budgets, right? A lot of stuff is budget driven, not science or technology driven. And that can be frustrating to perfectionists or engineers, because we want to do, the full blown, end all be all product, and sometimes we're constrained to only what can be afforded. So that's a challenge. Yeah, I think a lot of it has to be self-driven. You need to make sure that you express its family first in your career, and you need to find a company that believes and supports that. Most companies these days do, I think, but there are a lot who say that and don't actually stand behind it, and will pull as much out of an employee as they're willing to give, and a lot of people won't, say no. So I think you got to be willing to stand up and say, I'm going to make family first, and you have to have that good work-life balance. And if a company supports that, they won't question it. And if they do question it, maybe you need to think about the company you're working for. So to me, it's self-driven, but a good company will support it. So my favorite is problem solving. I love the problem solving element of it. Working with different disciplines, electrical engineers, process engineers, field service technicians, being handed a question by a customer that says, we have water that is in this state and we want to get it to this state, how do we do it? And going about solving that question, or putting an answer to that question, I think is the most exciting part. We're fortunate enough that we just don't end on paper, we end with a physical device. And I think that's the next best thing, is that it's not just an engineering consulting element where we hand over some documents. We get to see it come to life and fruition. So those two pieces, I think, are my most favorite parts of this career. So I'm in a different space. I'm kind of looking at that, next step in life. I'm probably 10 years away from retirement. So my career path, I think, is a little bit more finite. I'm in leadership, and I'd like to grow in leadership. But I think I found the home I want to retire in, or the company I want to retire with. So I'm kind of different in that regard. 10 years ago, my answer would have been a little bit different. But at this point in my career, I was fortunate enough to find something that I'm excited about staying in until it's over.
Well, and then engineering is the entire career. Do you see that changing?
I don't. I stepped into I should rephrase that. I did take 3 years and went into operations management, which still used an engineering background, but it's really not declared an engineering profession. So it was more operations management, and that was definitely a reward in itself. It was a good challenge, but it also helped me realize that I love problem solving. Not that there weren't problems to be solved in that regard, but I like the technical side, and the science behind it. So it led me back to here, and I think that's engineering is home for me in that regard. So one thing is just a single discipline doesn't define your career. If you're a chemical engineer, as I am out of the gate, or an electrical engineer, it doesn't mean you're stuck in that field. I think you'll find many people who have wandered from a single discipline into other disciplines just because they were able to pick up the little pieces that they didn't learn in school, or they were trained on the job. It's really the technical foundation that matters, and a lot of doors will open from there. So that's something I wish I had known, because I felt really nervous about, oh my gosh, I'm going to be a chemie for the rest of my life, and is that what I really want to do? But I realize now that it just opened a lot of doors, and that it was the answer for me, but it doesn't have to be the answer. The other advice I would give is STEM technical disciplines can open a lot more than just technical doors. I would really push young adults to look at a technical field, whether it be medical, any type of science and technology, engineering. The background you get, the foundational education you get can be applied in business, sales, marketing. It can be applied anywhere, where vice versa doesn't work as well. So I think your doors are really open with a technical curriculum.